look at everything,
The hard choices.
the hard choices, and we cannot be everything to everyone. And yes, we need to move forward on this. We need to look at other avenues, other areas.
I guess
Uh,
I think
lot,
that
you know,
you really need to
maintenance.
not be bothered by the fact. People
Right.
are going to come up and shake your hand and
Yeah.
congratulate you.
And as soon as you turn around, they're gonna be
Everybody
mad
else is
and-
going to come up and call
But
you.
that goes
colorful
back to the
expletive.
meetings that
Wait.
last for hours and hours and hours and
Right.
hours and hours. So we have to look at the fact that there has to be some kind of forward thinking. Then you also have some limitations, and okay, we're going to get this done.
But I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you, okay? And what it is that we don't want to give up any services because we love the way the town is. We love the way it runs. We love the police, the fire, and the DPW. They're all great, but we want less taxes. Well, guess what you got to do? As a business person, what's the first thing I look at? Building the top end. Economic development. That is the key word.
But
Okay.
I gotta digress here. You're in a time right now where we don't know how deep this recession is going to be. Okay, I can tell you, my wife's been affected by it. I've been affected by it. It is what it is right now, to the point of we don't know when this is going to end. When is it going to bottom out? We don't know. I lost $86,000 of my retirement gone, out of all the stocks and IRAs
Plus
and everything.
$150,000.
That's
But on
fine.
the upside, you guys
So-
are both young. You just ride it out.
Yeah, this is
exactly
my
it.
point. What I'm trying to say is this.
That's exactly it.
If you look at the whole picture, economic development is great. You look down the road, you need it. Understood completely. But it's unrealistic to expect economic development right now when we're just worried about staying in business more so than riding it out and looking at moving to the town of Londonderry. There's a lot of empty buildings right now.
I beg
all
to
over
I
differ
beg
with
to
you
differ
in
with
that
that too.
part.
I don't agree with
Because
that
you have to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
You have to, you can say you have to write it out, but you also have to look what's going to come out of that, and you have to look forward and you have to prepare. So say, I'll give you an example of something I learned, and I didn't even know this. EAS is here. Nobody ever talks about it.
AES?
AES, I'm sorry. $1.4 million into this community, but nobody ever talks about it. But everybody voted against it.
It is
So,
revenue.
so what
It was
happened?
also supposed to be a lot more and wasn't.
I'm not going to get into semantics. I'm just
It's not
telling you.
semantics. It's a proof. They sold a lot of the stuff that we bought. So if you want to talk real, we'll talk real. A lot of the things that were bought with the money that was banked by AES, we're paying for the police station, the library addition, the high school addition. It was about $12.6 million that I believe was the bond. That was sold on money that we were going to be paying from the AES. And guess what? It didn't happen.
Yes, but it's still, what
It's
we
a
get
part
in
of what we
ASC,
get.
when we get from ASS does pay those bills.
Right, but
It does pay those
But I'm
bonds.
saying that a lot of the taxes were supposed to be reduced because of that. Didn't happen. Because you can't bank on something that you don't have. It's a bird in hand.
No, but on the one hand, you can look at it by saying, okay, I don't have to pay for all of those things because AES is paying for them. What I'm paying for are my police, my
Exactly.
fire, my,
And
you
they're
know,
relevant to
right.
how we live.
Exactly.
You
Okay?
can't
So-
think doom all the time. You have to look at
I'm not
Pettingill.
looking at doom.
Listen, if I could speak.
Bill?
Pettingill Road's 800 acres, okay, in that airport development area, okay? The state has said that South Londonderry is one of the best areas right now for commercial industrial development. They've said it. Town representatives have said it to us. So we should go after that with all forces available to us and develop that property out, bring big industry in here, develop it in the proper areas so that we don't have to have corporate creep and business,
So
all
are you-
this
so
commercial
I gotta
creep
ask a
down in the
question.
Mammoth Road. Hang on, let me
This
finish
is,
one more
this is
second.
a question relative to what you're saying.
And in fact, what they did was the town council recognized that already, and they've already made positive sways into that. In fact, I've heard that that whole project of Pettingill Road may be being picked up by the state. So what my point is
There
that
are
it
other
may-
ways to go about it,
okay,
exactly.
there's other ways of going about it. You don't have to look and say, oh, I'm too afraid to invest money there because what if it doesn't happen? Well, what we did was we went out and said, let's market ourselves, what I said before.
Exactly.
Let's market ourselves. And we marketed ourselves. I heard, and I don't know when the announcement's going to come out, but I heard that we've got a giant state grant that's going to be unveiled. And that's what you do when you be focused on something and when you stick to the plan. I am going to build the top end.
Now, has anybody paid attention to the design charrettes for that area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and how do you like that? What do you think? Is that a good vision? You know, there have been homeowners that have come forward and said, you need this instead of that. How do you feel about that?
I think it's gonna be a continuing process. We have the basics, we have an initial design layout. A lot of it's gonna depend on the businesses that come forward. Everything is evolving. I think this is an important thing, not just to Londonderry, but to the region. It stands the potential of bringing in 4,000 to 6,000 jobs.
Are you talking?
Just the
are you
building
talking
of it
about-
alone.
Are you talking? Are you talking about the flexible industrial
And-
district? Okay, you know.
And,
Oh.
you know, if we do it right, we're gonna bring not just light industry and light manufacturing, but also good white-collar jobs, office-type jobs.
I think it's a good
We've been very
concept.
successful. Insight is just about doubled, or better than doubled. Stonyfield has doubled up there. We've got some very good successes, and we brought in some very good neighbors. I know initially I was dead set against the power plant. It has turned out not to be as bad a neighbor as I thought it was going to be, and I live within a half a mile of it. Did we lose? Did we bet and spend money that we didn't have? Yes, we did. As a town, we did.
But for a positive reason.
We
Sure.
counted on something happening, and we should have bit the bullet and held back a little bit, because even before they got finished, they were talking about, well, yeah, we're going to have to reevaluate and everything else.
But what would you have given up? Because to me, what we have in our town right now is what we needed in our town. Let's move forward to the fire station that's on the bond that's on the warrant right now,
This
the
is what we should
ballot.
have did back then.
Okay, is that something that you support right now? Chris, let you get a,
Actually, I do. I actually think we should have done it 2 years ago or whenever we voted on the last one, because that would have been the time to do it. I looked at the estimates. I mean, I don't know, you know, if there's any cost reductions to the building possible now based on the economy and, you know, cost of materials, cost of, you know, the workmanship, you know, so I don't know if there's any savings to be had additionally, but it's something that we have to do. I mean,
Well, it's like,
We don't want to have to spend the money, but if you look at what your priorities are and you have a good plan, our master plan as an example, and you look at bringing economic development and increasing the top end, you have to look at it from a public safety aspect. You have to look at it from an economic development. How I mean economic development, these people that are coming into this proposed FI district that we're talking about, you know, if you look at the plan, you look at that plan and you have corporate office parks, educational
wait,
facilities.
what are you,
Referring
It's
to.
a plan for the FI district,
the
zoning
flexible
plan.
industrial
I
district.
know, but
that's
our
all
Yeah,
it
but-
is.
let's talk
No,
about
no,
fire
I'm
station.
getting to you. I'm getting to that. So when you look at these companies coming in, the convention centers, the research and development, they're going to be looking for how am I going to stay safe? It's a safety issue. So they're going to, when we market ourselves, we have to look at these things as a marketing tool as well as a public safety issue.
I think we should keep this common sense in that regard with the fire station. And one of the first things I did was call the fire chief. What are you living in? I've never been there. It was built in 1956, and it was built with
Firefighters
with
built
yeah, it was built with terrible materials.
It just looks like a big
And it's
garage.
have you ever been in there?
would you let
It's a garage.
anyone in Londonderry, a resident, live in that place that's condemned?
I can't understand why we wouldn't.
So what's going to happen is, my point is I've talked to taxpayers, and what they're going to say to me is, I will not accept a tax raise. You are not going to raise my taxes for another fire station. So the argument then becomes, it's not about the taxpayer, it's about the fact, it goes right back to what we were talking about earlier regarding services. We have to provide this service, and there are certain things that we just have to do.
So if you're not going to raise the tax to pay for the bond, are you going to cut the personnel in order to make up the
Sometimes you
difference?
have to. Sometimes you have to make adjustments. Sometimes there has to be just communication so that we can find a way to do it better.
Or you prioritize what's really
Absolutely.
required. if you have 10